Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
Go. Week 1 of the National Football League season is here. We have 5 consecutive days of football because we are recording this episode of Purple Access on Thursday. It's Judd, Chip Scoggins, of course, Star Tribune sports columnist, and my former running mate on the Vikings beat, Ross Brendel. And before we get into the show, definitely want to thank our friends because the new Vikings scratch game for the Minnesota Lottery is the official scratch game of the Vikings. You could win up to $100,000 or second chance prizes, including season tickets or an away game trip. That's officially exciting. Minnesota Lottery, just say I'm in. Must be 18 or older to play. All right, Chip Scoggins, let's get to it. We're through with training camp. J.J. McCarthy is hurt. That's unfortunate. Sam Darnold is going to start on Sunday. What is your feeling? I won't even ask because, I don't expect the Vikings to be this killer franchise. I don't think they're going to be a dumpster fire. But what is your overall takeaway? What are your feelings as we get set to start the 2024 season?
I'm excited. I got the new headset rocking.
Oh,
right?
By the way, that is great. That is fantastic.
The season's here. I couldn't wait any longer.
Good, by the way.
Thank you. I had to upgrade to the finer technology. Judd, I predicted 7-10 record.
Mm-hmm.
Is that too low, too high, right on the mark? I
think I came away the last time we did the schedule prediction a couple days ago with 8 wins. I think the floor is about 6 wins. I don't think they're going to be a 4 unless guys get hurt left and right.
Well,
I think the ceiling is probably about 9 wins. But I think the development of the season is what I'm excited about.
Yeah,
like there's a plan here.
Yeah, I don't see this as a dumpster fire team that wins 2 games, 3 games. Injuries, obviously, the sky fell on that. You can't predict that. But when you look at the talent they have on paper, I just don't see this as as much as fans might view this as a man. This team's not very good. I disagree. I think the schedule's really hard, and the reason why I say 7 is 2 things. I think the schedule's hard, and I just don't know about Sam Darnold. I just have no clue how he's going to play. You like to say that he's going to have a career renaissance, much like we saw Baker Mayfield have when he got put in a better situation. But I can't sit here and say that. So, but I'm curious to see how he plays under Kevin O'Connell. Mm-hmm. I want to see this defense, how the new guys are going to fit with what Brian Flores wants to do, particularly really the rush guys, right? Grenard, Dallas Turner, Van Ginkel.
Yes.
Like that's what I want to I want to see how those guys progress. But there's obviously concerning areas. I think cornerback is still even though their frontline guys have track records.
Yeah.
It's just hard to know. I don't think there's a lot of depth there. So I think that's an area of concern.
The Gilmore signing definitely indicates that this team is not throwing in the towel. That was
Correct.
what interested me about that was a sign of there are expectations here. Because right now the cornerback positions are at least more like they're not awful. Before I was like, what are they going to do? Yeah. And who knows, at the end of the day, Chipper, Dwight McLaughlin might play and be good. But the reality is it's interesting because yes, they're not going to be a great team. But, as the Wilfs always do, they want to be competitive. Now, we can debate that, but they always do. And the Gilmore signing and what they're paying him are an indication that nobody's just going to be allowed off the hook if things go really poorly.
Well, it's interesting because at the end of spring, and I think we talked about this, I asked Kwesi, because I was writing a column on owners and how – is this 10 years now? No, how many years has they been here?
The Wilfs?
More than 10, yeah.
2005.
20 years. This is their 20th season. Yeah, 10. What am I saying? This is their 20th season.
You're getting old. And don't worry about it.
I know.
Keep calling this 2022.
I know.
Don't worry about it.
I had a break. Right. So I talked to Mark Wolf on the practice field there. It was at OTA, and I was like, man, 20 years. This is 20th season. He's like, yeah, can you believe it? And remember when they first came, they're like, these outsiders. What do they want? They're going to move the team. I think we were rightly suspicious about what were their intentions and what kind of owners they'd be. I think they've proven to be pretty darn good owners. Now they haven't won a championship, but I don't know that they've been the hurdle to that. We can debate whether they stuck with Spielman, Zimmer, some people they've hired. Okay. But in terms of giving them the assets that they need to be a winner, I think they've done that. But it leads me to the point I asked Kwesi about that, and he said, as long as we present I said, do you ever get denied by them for a request? He said, as long as we make a compelling argument,
right,
they've always come through. So I want to know what his argument was to the Wilfs on, hey, I want to assign Stephon Gilmore to a pretty big, significant contract, for 1 year. So to me, that says Kwesi's not punting on this year either.
Well, and I do think that part of that case probably came from Brian Flores, right? Because he probably said, like, he has no, I mean, he might be stuck for the rest of his coaching life as a DC now, but he's a very good one. And I think he probably said, hey, look, I'm developing, year 2, developing something here. But quite frankly, if I have to start a Caleb Evans in week 1 outside, I'm going to puke. Give me something else. And so I do think that there is, like, I get that. And one of the things that I'm expecting, and I think we've discussed this previously, I do not think this defense is going to be as bad as the national perception is. I think the defense is actually, again, you're right, health. I think this defense is going to be pretty good.
Why do you think the national perception is just because of how they finished up last year? Which
probably.
They were bad at the end of the year.
And they're expected to be bad. Like, I just think the national, I don't think the national people have enough time. Well, like, if you were told, hey, talk about the Raiders right now, you would talk about your perceptions, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Like, you got
based on last year or whatever. Yeah.
When you're going to practices like we do, when you're around the team, you have a pretty good, like, we both know that when it comes to Darnold, we don't know, right? Yeah. But when it comes to the defense, that was not a fluke. So, but if you cover 32 teams, you probably, to your point, looked at the end of the season stats. They weren't good and said, well, this defense isn't very good.
Yeah, and I do wonder if I think 90%, 95%, 99% of the national perception of this team not being very good is based on the quarterback situation. I mean, I just think people look at Sam Darnold, it's like, he failed at 2 spots. They can't be very good. And that, that might very well be proven true when we get to the end of this. But when I look at Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and Aaron Jones and their tackles, and when TJ Hawkinson gets back, I just, he's got to have, there's no excuse for him not, performing well in this offense. Now, if he doesn't, then I just think Sam Darnold's, the book on him is what it's going to be, right? But I'm curious to see the plan and how much the offense looks different with him versus Cousins, and also with Aaron Jones. And are we going to see a more? It's not going to be a true balance, but a more balanced offense than what we've seen in KO's first 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
On the defense, I think part of the reason why the national media thinks the team will be so bad is exactly what you said, Judd, is what they looked like at the end of the year. And maybe you look at the stats and you say, oh boy, they were terrible. Well, what gets lost in that is how injured they were down the stretch. So
that was it, yeah.
Assuming health, you'd like to think that they can't be that bad. On the Gilmore thing, I want to go back to that really quickly. I think what that signing shows is, from an organization, they might be thinking, okay, maybe we're not a playoff team. Maybe we're not going to make a serious run, but we're still going to do the right things for the progression of this team and building this thing going forward. Other teams, depending on the situation that you're in, if you're going to be a 6-11 team, you might decide, let's go young, let's not be very good, let's not maybe have the greatest roster. I think for this roster, I think it's a good case to be made. We're trying to ascend, and we think we're ascending, and a part of that is winning football games and continuing that winning culture. So I think it's a good signing from that standpoint.
Yeah, and I may be wrong in this, but I don't think as long as the Wilfs are owners, they will ever enter a season and say we're not a playoff team. I mean, I think they're always going
to a fault.
Whether it's true, maybe it's not based on reality. I don't know, but I think that they always maintain that they're always going to be a contender for the playoffs. And yeah, it's like you have Justin Jefferson. You have Christian Darrisaw. You've invested some pretty big money in this roster. You made some deals to bring guys in here. You should be of the mindset of, hey, we've improved this team.
Yep.
We've set it up to how we want it. And you have a major problem at cornerback. Go get the best solution that you can afford. And so that makes sense. And I think you're right. The culture, I think it's always going to be about trying to put the best product on the field and not worrying about perceptions of outside. Is this playoff team, not playoff team, that type of thing.
Well, and in reality, when it comes to cornerbacks specifically, what healthy cornerbacks are on the roster that you're trying to develop anyways? So if you're going to go out and get somebody, it might as well be at that position, and they might as well be good because, let's be honest, the younger cornerbacks on this team are, at least, when it comes to development, injured at this point, other than a Caleb Evans.
Yeah, that's true. Chipper, to go back to your Darnold questions and points, I think there's a very interesting discussion here, okay? And I feel like it's been ignored somewhat, but the more that you think about it, O'Connell is going to be judged a little bit by how Sam does, right? If he does great, it's going to be like, McGowan and O'Connell have been great. And if he doesn't, it's going to be, well, I guess they can't take that guy who was a failure elsewhere and develop him. But let's drill down here, because I think there's a discussion to be had about this portion too. We have both covered a lot of coaches, one currently employed, one that we covered together on the Vikings beat, who have offensive philosophies that they will not alter based on personnel. So you are going to do what they say, and it's going to work. And, it's the results be damned. It's the player's fault if it does not work. Kevin O'Connell, I don't think, is like that. Here's the way I would describe Darnold going into this season. He is going to be playing with bumpers. He is going to be, they have it. So unless he goes rogue and this becomes a problem, this is the Nick Mullins problem. He goes rogue at times. Well, then you're screwed. But I think O'Connell is going to be very conscious of his play calling here. And he is going to, if things break down, I think Sam is going to be flat out told, throw the ball away. Do not force it. Don't take the sack. Just throw the ball away. As Childress used to say, live to fight another down.
Yeah.
So I think what we are going to see is not that O'Connell's going to abandon his principles, but I do think we are going to see him cater his principles to Darnold this season and to McCarthy in 25.
Well, yeah, because if you look at Darnold's resume, Judd, there's a ton of turnovers on there.
Yes.
And that's kind of been his that has been his calling card. I mean, he has a lot of turnovers. And so can O'Connell script an offense that minimizes that? I don't know if you can kind of change who a guy is.
Quick hitters, though? Get the ball out quick. He's got a good arm. The arm is not the problem. The brain is the problem.
But the problem, and we saw it last year, Judd, when they had the revolving door at quarterback. KO still wants to throw the ball down the field. He still wants to be aggressive. And so is he going to lose that mindset? Is he still going to want that vertical passing? Because that's what he prides himself on. And it didn't matter who was in there. He was trying to throw the ball down the field.
Yeah. I think the internal feeling there is this. And we both saw this in practices, okay? Sam Darnold throws a nice deep ball. He actually can drive the ball down the field, throws a really nice deep ball. Where he struggles is when he's under pressure, the intermediate passes are often thrown in a blind panic. So I think that's where he's going to try to pull back. I think we're going to see more of a screen game, quick hitting passes, and occasional shots. The problem is if you try for that 20-yard pass and he's got pressure, it's gonna be behind Jefferson. It's gonna get picked off. So all of these things and practice. The more I watched Darnold practice, one, the arm talent is legit. But two, even though he had a red jersey on and couldn't be hit, you could tell pressure really gets to him. So these are things that KO is going to have to try to work his best because he's going to play a big role as long as Darnold doesn't do his own thing in what the decisions are by the quarterback.
And it's interesting too, because what does Jefferson do so well when he's setting up guys down the field and you're letting him run and, set the guy up and break open. And so I don't think you want to take away that, right?
Agreed.
Because
correct.
Because the quarterback is whatever, turnover prone, and you want to get the ball in his hands. So it's
Right.
going to be a fascinating marriage of the guys he has around him with trying to fit it to what Darnold does best. And I agree with you. When you'd see him in training camp, and granted he's not getting sacked and, they're not breathing down his neck as much, there's no denying the guy has a good arm.
Correct.
Like, you could see it. It's just what, for whatever reason, the turnovers have been, is that just who he is? Is that
I think he panics.
The pressure? Is it the mental part of it?
I think it's the mental part.
It's probably a combination of a lot of things, Judd. But can a coach, that is a big part of what has led to his downfall so far. The failures he's had. Can coaching take that away or minimize that?
Mm-hmm.
It's very early for him in the standpoint of being a long-established Minnesota Viking, and I think we all pretty much agree it's only going to be this season. But so much of quarterbacking and leading a team doesn't have anything to do with on the field. What's the sense that you guys have got with the gravitation of players towards him? Does this seem to be a guy that the players can rally around, that they really like? And I know we've heard, especially from you, Judd, a lot on Purple Daily, he's more of maybe a quiet guy, maybe a quiet leader. But I kind of want to get a sense of what his teammates feel and what maybe they think about him here still relatively early on. Or is it going to be something we're not going to know until the season goes?
No, it's really hard.
I need to see more. I need to see more. We haven't been, you need to see him in games. And you need to see the season play out. It's so hard in training camp to know, is a guy stepping forward? I think we need to see this play out and see games happen and see how he responds to adversity, responds to success, see how players respond to him. It's all fine and great in preseason when you're not winning and losing, and there's really not a lot of adversity, right?
Correct.
We have to see
Correct.
more.
And he was, named a captain on Wednesday. But my God, if your quarterback is not named a captain, it means the locker room hates your guts.
Right.
So that does not, I'm sure that some fans will say, well, the guy was named a captain. What more do you want? If you're not named a captain and you are going to start at quarterback, you need to find a different career. So I can't judge that a lot, but he is. I mean, does he have the it factor McCarthy carries? Absolutely not. You watch McCarthy, it's like, I'd follow this guy around. I'm 54. Sam, I'm like, yeah. And also the question too is, and we obviously did not cover Darnold in college or with the Jets. The question is too, the PTSD, the damage that's been done. I mean, this guy was set up to fail, and unfortunately for him, failed spectacularly in New York.
I was going to say that. Add that is like he failed in New York, which can really change a person, and we've seen it. So I'm not saying that it's changed him, but you talk about that it factor in the present, having a presence about him. And this is not a knock on Sam Darnold, but when you're around J.J. McCarthy, like if you're talking to him, you walk away, it's like, man, that guy's got it together. Like you can see why he is a quarterback and a leader that guys will follow.
Yes.
And it's a cliche, but it's hard to define it. But when you're around guys, when we were around Favre, Judd, you walked away as like, I understand why guys will go to
correct
fight with this guy. You just felt it,
owned
you just
the
had
room.
this, and you see it at other positions too. Like it doesn't have to be that. I thought, Steve Hutchinson, I thought Antoine Winfield, I thought Kevin Williams, I thought those guys. When you're around him, you're like, okay, I'll follow that guy, because
correct
they have this presence. And so, I'm not saying that I haven't been around Sam Darnold a ton, but I just think his personality is different than definitely different than JG. But that's not to say he can't be a great leader.
Yeah, and he doesn't. I mean, he lacks any and all charisma with us, which is not necessarily a referendum on how he is with teammates. But I will say this: if you gave me JJ McCarthy, Kirk Cousins, and Sam as far as it factors, it's McCarthy 1, Cousins 2, quirky but sort of you got it a little bit, and then Darnold 3. But again, this also, I mean, for all I know, in 2018, Sam Darnold was a whirling dervish of a human being, and he's been beaten down so badly. So, like, these are things. But what's so intriguing about this starting Sunday is, unless something goes drastically wrong with McCarthy or something, this is a 1-year experimental trial that basically is Sam's last chance to say, no, I can be a starting QB, because it sure as hell is not going to be with the Vikings in 2025.
It's a total referendum. And you know what players care about, teammates care about? Does the guy play on Sunday? Does he perform on Sunday? Like that's how you win guys over. But this is it to me, it's always been a 1-year referendum on Darnold, because I'm sure he looked at what Baker Mayfield did last year and said, you know what? That guy resurrected his career, got him a long-term starting job and a big contract. And I think Baker Mayfield had more of a track record.
He did.
Positive track record, obviously.
Definitely did.
But the thing is similar in that you're trying to resurrect your career and put, show people that you can be a starter. And so, but it's a 1-year deal. I mean, this is JJ's team next year. And so
yes,
this is his opportunity.
The interesting thing as well, Chipper, and this is, it's not rare for a wide receiver to be potentially a great player, but the really interesting thing is the real captain of the offense, despite the multitude of captains, no question, it's Jefferson. Yeah. And O'Connell has sort of willed this. Like Kevin has worked hard, because, I have never seen a head coach go talk to a receiver like before practice
as much
as they do. And to his credit, Jefferson talked about this. I think he was named a captain for the first time before last season. And Jefferson has worked his ass off and he has the it factor, but a receiver can't control variables. So it's very hard to be like, and plus most of them are just weird, mercurial people. I give Jefferson a lot of credit. Like, that guy has really, really stepped up and put himself in a role that I don't remember seeing a lot of receivers ever do before. And that's sort of that quarterback role of, I'll be the guy.
Well, because that position, more than any, I think you sort of have to have some selfishness to you, because that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's like so depending on, someone throwing you the ball, and you got to get yourself open. So there's kind of that inherent quality. But if you go back to the press conference they had announcing Jefferson's contract, O'Connell went out of the way, I thought, to say, we're really anticipating, this contract says that you're our guy. Like,
yes,
there becomes a responsibility when you sign this contract to be more than a great player. Like, you have to be the guy that's in front of the team leading us out.
Presence.
And it was obvious from the first day of training camp, Jefferson took hold of that. Because he just, to me, and not so much like in our conversations during the press stuff, but just watching him on the field, you notice more of his leadership, outspokenness, just kind of being more of that guy who kind of the flag bearer, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Even though he's your best player, he's going to be that anyways.
But receivers aren't ordinarily like the face of the franchise. They're the face of their own greatness.
Yeah.
And that's the difference here. And I did, so with O'Connell's press conference on Wednesday, one question, because he had been asked about the fact that, Justin stepped up and is doing a great job of trying to be a captain. But I followed up with, I know you can't really talk about Ja'Marr Chase, but it's a direct parallel. And a year ago, and we thought that it might happen, and it never came close. But a year ago, we said, is Justin Jefferson, and he could certainly, it could be defended with the greatness. Is he going to go into the 4th year of his 5-year rookie contract and play without a new contract? And then, lo and behold, he gets hurt. And I think he sat out for 8 games. Ja'Marr Chase, there's talk about, is he going to play on Sunday? He just practiced. He didn't practice all training camp. Yeah. And so that's another thing. And by the way, I think the Ja'Marr Chase thing is much more typical of the receiver position than what Justin did. So There was a world in which it would have been not surprising if what the Bengals are going through now, the Vikings had to go through a year ago with Justin, if Justin was more like a wide receiver personality wise.
Well, and you think about even before the contract got signed, Judd, all the way through that process. Did you ever hear him complain?
No.
And he got asked about it a lot. It was like, I don't worry about that. I'm going to show up. He showed up. I mean, he held up not held up, but he didn't come to the one-man camp because he said he was doing marketing stuff. But it never became contentious or to the point where you're like, oh man, this is bad, right? There's friction here between the best player and the team. I give Justin a lot of credit on that because we've seen so many wide receivers just become divas and hard to deal with, and
yes,
they've been here,
Yes.
And not only is he the best wide receiver in the league, one of the best players in the league, but he just seems like a really good teammate, and someone that accepts all that comes with his status without seeing himself on a pedestal, which is hard to do,
Yes.
when people are telling you how great you are. So I give him credit, and he's he just seems like he's got a great presence and head on his shoulders about how to handle all this. That's, all the things that's expected of him.
Mm-hmm.
He seems to do it the right way.
Who do you got on Sunday?
I think the Vikings. I think I don't like the Giants. I think their defensive front.
I was going to say their pass rush is going to be in it.
Their pass rush is the one concerning thing, and if they can get a good plan there and the interior can hold up, I don't like the quarterback. So I think this is a game they can go in and win.
Roscoe, Sunday, who do you like?
I'm going to hope that it's the Vikings, and here's why. Because if they don't win on Sunday, you can see looking at that schedule how it could snowball early. So it would be nice to get that first win out of the way. But I feel like it's a bit of a defensive slugfest, maybe like a 20-13, 16-13 final score.
I was going to say 24-21 Vikings.
That's probably close.
What do you got, Judd?
Big leg Bill with a big field goal.
Well, here's my question. First of all, are the winds a howling at MetLife Stadium?
Right. Yeah,
because that place is, I don't think it's as bad as the old place was, where they would open that garage door for the opponent and cause all types of havoc. I like the Vikings as well. I think it's like 17-14. I think it's a low scoring game. Darnold, I don't know what to expect, and Jones I do, and he's not going to be playing Ed Donatel's defense. So what I expect is a flop of a game. He's going to get confused. I mean, Jones, the fact the Giants got fooled into signing him to that contract largely based on that wild card game is a fireable offense. So it's ridiculous. So
against the bad defense.
Yeah. But again, if they lose, I don't think this is the year where I'm going to say, oh my God, it's all, because it's just it's going to be different, but finally, McCarthy being hurt sucks, but finally there is something at the end of the rainbow. So
I will say, last thing, wins and losses will always matter, but I'm really curious about the optics.
Yeah, exactly. That's really well put. Oh, and the last thing, Chipper, I'm sorry. The last thing. Can you tell your buddy Fleck that it's 2024? What happened? Your guy, Pete Thamel, when I think it was at the end of PJ's time at Western Michigan, or he first got here, did a great piece on his offensive innovation in mind. And we saw it for a while. What has happened? It's like he has amnesia. He can't remember what he used to do.
I've been screaming all off season. You got to change. You got to evolve. And we've been told new quarterback, you're going to see more explosive. First quarter, 3rd and goal from the 10 run. I don't understand it.
But I mean, what happened to him?
I don't know.
He was praised for his offensive mind at one time, and I agreed with it.
I'm just going to sit this one out because I could talk for 40 minutes with you.
I just want to know what happened. Did he forget what he used to do? Did he okay, Max Brosmer, I get it. He's probably not that good, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But you still got to throw the football. And like you just said, 3rd and 10 in the red zone?
At 3rd and goal from the 10 and you run it.
Yeah, I'd fire you instantly. And I don't want to fire him because I don't even care that much. They're in an 18-team conference. They got no shot. Anyway,
you're in the stands drinking with the fans. I'm up there working.
Yeah, well, I considered going this week, but it's first of all,
No.
it starts at
FCS.
11, and second of all, they're basically playing Benilde St. Margaret. So
Oh, the
I
weather's
won't
going to
go.
be great, though. Perfect for an 11 a.m. start. Chip, come on down to section 235. I'll buy you a Diet Coke.
Chip
All
will
right.
be there at 8:00,
Yep.
drinking Cokes,
Mountain Dew. Yeah.
Mountain Dew.
That's
All right,
You know,
Chip's
let's
got.
get to 1-1 in Rhode Island championship season, Chip.
Just
Okay.
shut up.
Excuse me,
Okay.
1-0. 1-0.
All right, Chip, Ross,
See ya,
Judd.
boys.
See you in a couple weeks for another Purple Access. Bye, Chip.